Several of you have commented about my wing here. I just let you know that you're probably familiar with Tommy John surgery that they do to baseball pitchers. Well, this is like Tommy John surgery for election officials. I'll be able to count ballots faster. And I'm going to take a little offense to what Councilman Carlson said there about, you know, they used to meet in Hyde Park and then they got better speakers. I was in Hyde Park, Bill. I've gotten better. We're going to talk about a couple of things, the 2020 election. And a spoiler alert for you, we had a great election in Florida. And it wasn't just happenstance. It's something that we had been planning for years. You know, one of the things that really put us ahead was the legislation that was in place. And the biggest one is that we start actually processing and counting vote-by-mail ballots a good 20 days before the election. So by election day, we have the bulk of everything done. As a matter of fact, you know, and we were really fortunate this last year, because we did have a good amount of vote-by-mail ballots that were cast. And we had a lot of people that early voted, to the tune that 85% of our voters had voted prior to election day, right? 85%. So by law, you know, I have to have all the early votes uploaded on Monday before the election. We've got all that vote by mail. So at 7 o'clock on election night, we put out 85% of our results. By 8:50, we had reported 99% of our results. That would be the precincts as they were coming in. And the national media actually called our election, the Florida election, for Trump at, I think, 12 o'clock midnight. That's how, you know, all of the cameras got everything in. But let me tell you how we got there. And it wasn't an easy one. You know, remember last year we had 3 elections. We had the presidential preference primary, which was March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. That was also about the time that the coronavirus started really ramping up. As a matter of fact, Sarasota and Hillsborough County had the first deaths that were attributed to the coronavirus. So we went through early voting. Election day, we had 397 poll workers didn't show up. They wanted to, they got scared, and they didn't show up. The weekend before election day, the governor stopped all visitation at assisted living facilities. We had 10 polling sites that were in basically step facilities where they'd be independent living, and then well, we had to move 10 polling sites Saturday and Sunday before the election. So that actually helped us too, because we consolidated them, then we were able to absorb these poll worker losses that we had. So we knew going forward we were going to have to change how we did things. And we did. I challenged our staff to put all the training online. They did a fantastic job of interactive training online. Do I have any other poll workers here? Anybody else? Thanks. I thought you both were poll workers. Thank you. Thank you. So you can ask them how the training was. It's all online. Fantastic. The next thing we did is what anybody from Tampa would do: start reaching out to your partners, right? So we reached out to the Tampa Chamber, the Tampa Bay Partnership, and that was a golden relationship at that point. Brian Hall, who's president of the Rays, was the then outgoing president of the partnership, and he started leveraging all of his sports contacts, Team Tampa Bay. So on September 22nd, which is National Poll Worker Recruitment Day, they leveraged all of their social media. The chamber was encouraging all of their members to give the employees off to work the polls or to vote. Team Tampa Bay, the Bucks, the Lightning, the whole USF community, the Rowdies, all leveraged that social media. The end result was we turned away 2,900 potential poll workers. That's what a reach it was. So, you know, imagine that now we're knee deep in the pandemic in November, and we had 2,900 more poll workers than we needed. That's a good feeling, I can tell you right now. It also, this is no offense to anybody here that's a poll worker, it reduced our mean age of poll workers to about 53, 54 years old, which was, I think everybody here falls into that category. So, you would have told me 5 years ago that I was going to have to find a supplier for plexiglass, and oh, by the way, you better get a bunch of hand sanitizer, I would have laughed at it. But we did. We got plexiglass. One of the things, I should have brought my prop with me that I usually bring, but the State Office of Emergency Management started leveraging different distilleries because they're easy to convert to make hand sanitizer. And I got cases and cases of Bacardi Fifths that had hand sanitizer. Those poll workers here know that you didn't see those out at the polling sites because I was very fearful of somebody mixing that with Coke. They literally are in the Bacardi bottle with the Bacardi metal label on the top of it. So, you know, we changed. How many people here vote by mail? Okay. At early voting? And dinosaurs, election day. Hold that hand, hold it up high, come on. Everybody look at her, she's costing you 9 times more to cast that vote on election day. I'm kidding, we want you to vote on election day. We want people to be across all 3 methods of voting, that's for sure. So let's fast forward here, a couple of things that have gone on. You saw there was some recent legislation, and one of the things, and all you people that vote by mail, pay attention here. You thought you had a request on file that was going to take you through 2024. It's not. It's going to expire in 2022, and you're going to have to re-up that. And you know that nice checkbox that's on the back of the envelope? You're not going to see that anymore. Because now with your request, you're going to have to supply your driver's license number, your Florida ID card, or the last 4 of your social for us to be able to do that. So that's probably the biggest change that's going to impact the voters. We estimated statewide, I don't know if y'all know, I was just the immediate past president now of the Florida Association of Supervisors. And we got together and looked at this as statewide, it's going to impact taxpayers to the tune of between $16 and $20 million it's going to cost for us to reach out to the voters to let them know, hey, you're not on the list, you're going to have to re-up this. And what's that going to do to us too? I mean, you can still call in, but you're going to have to call every year. You're going to have to make that written request with that information on it every year, or every election cycle. So, you know, instead of us having to only be touched every 2 years, we're going to get touched every year now by the voters also. They tried to do away with drop boxes totally. We got that thrown out. We'll still have drop boxes at all the early vote sites, and of course my 4 offices. As far as early vote sites go, I'll be losing Emily Arena and Raymond James Stadium because they're actually playing back at the venues now, so we won't be able to fit that in. And I got to tell you, Emily Arena was spectacular. The first day of early voting, they rolled the cup out and put it on display. And Gary Kramer, my chief communications officer, was with me today. Took a picture of me standing next to the cup with the Bolts I Voted sticker and tweeted it out. You wouldn't have believed how many people showed up to vote that day, or to get the picture taken, one of the two. The only one of the changes with that drop box is that if I leave one of those drop boxes unattended, I can get a $25,000 civil fine. Now, I've always got 2 people on, so I'm not really concerned about that. You know, a lot of the stuff that's in this new legislation is for show. It was for fundraising. The day the governor signed the bill, he sent out a fundraising email and said, I now require identification to vote in Florida. Well, we've required identification to vote in Florida for years. Yeah, now you have to have identification or show your identification to get a vote by mail ballot. That's all. So, you know, it's all for show. But as far as the $25,000, I suggested to the legislators that if a bill sponsor, if a bill ultimately is ruled unconstitutional, the bill sponsor should be fined $25,000. It didn't go anywhere. It didn't go anywhere at all. I can tell you that our association fought tooth and nail though to get a lot of these things out of the legislation that they started with. They were going to wipe out all vote by mail requests that were currently on file. It's crazy. Wipe them all out. I've got like 450,000 requests on file right now. Same thing happened back in 2011. they went to one cycle and they went back to 2 cycles again. So, you know, like I say, never lose sight of the fact that election law is made by people elected to office. All right, another big change for us, and this is something I like to talk about, is the ERIC project, the Electronic Registration Information Center. This is a nonprofit consortium. I think it's something in the Virginia area is where the headquarters are. And basically, you join this consortium, and then you furnish all your driver's license information and all your voter information. They mix and match it against all the other states. Right now, I think there's like 31, 32 states that are involved with this, most of the major states around us. And what they do then is return to us and say, hey, this person has moved from your county to another county in Florida. This person has moved from your county to North Carolina. Oh, by the way, this person died. And also with that, they have to furnish the state a list of potentially eligible but not registered voters. And they did that back in September. And the state ended up sending out 2.2 million postcards to potential eligible but not registered. Hard to quantify, but we know that right after those cards went out, there was a bump of about 300,000 new registrations. And they'll continue to do that. It won't be as big a number, obviously, the next time that they do it. You know, if someone dies in the state of Florida, we get that information immediately because, you know, it all goes through the Department of Health. But if somebody passes away at their vacation home in North Carolina, Colorado, wherever, we may not get that information. So the ERIC project is going to tremendously help us with that. They also do, and this is how they get the changes, and we've done it for years, it's called Ncoa, it's the National Change of Address. So if you're moving from one place to another, you know, you go get that form from the post office, you do it all online now. Fill it out, and this is my new residence. So we get that information. We also, when we send out mail to you, we might get it back with one of those yellow stickies on it that says, you've moved, but there's no more forwarding. And so we'll go through what is called the list maintenance process to try and make contact with that individual so we can see if they are still, you know, a registered voter in our county, somebody that we're going to hold on to. So with that, let me stop there. And before I do stop there, one thing, and I want to see you raise your hands after I tell you this. Did you know, before every election, we conduct what's called a public logic and accuracy test, where we test every single tabulator and high-speed scanner by putting a test net to it. We know what the outcome should be. The logic is that it can see every place on that ballot where a vote can be cast. The accuracy is to get it counted correctly, right? And we do that in the public, wide open. Usually have the press there. After every election, this is throughout the entire state, we do a post-election audit. You can do that one of 2 ways. One, you can have your canvassing board randomly select a race and precincts, and then you go find all the ballots from those precincts. Vote by mail, early vote, election day, and hand count them to ensure the machine counted correctly. The other method you could do, and this is what I do, is an electronic audit system, where we actually use a different type of tabulation system. And I'm only required to do 20% of the precincts, I do 100%. But we run through this other tabulation system to ensure that my primary tabulation system, in fact, counted correctly, and they do. So how many people knew that? Raise your hand. Come on, raise it high. All right, the rest of you now are ambassadors. You're going to go out and tell your friends and neighbors that we've already done an audit. Please quit sending me all of these letters and emails that I should do an audit like they did in Arizona. We've already done an audit. So I'll leave it at that. Now I'll have questions.